How many more years? Copper blood in these waters. Most High see us here. Peace be still, but the truth gonna appear. Emmett Till, young boy whistling in the store. White lies turned to lynch and dragged him from the door. Beaten, shot river, swallowed him whole. Open casket, mama showed the world his soul. Nolan Wills, 18, boat ride on the 4th. Only black in the circle, now they say he drowned for. Horn Island whispers, friends came back without him. Mississippi history, still hunting, still doubting. Same state, same pain, different name. Black boy lost in the Delta rain. When will it change? Lord, when will it change? Ancestors screaming, we never left this stage. 1955, Chicago boy down south for the summer breeze. Money, Mississippi, wrong place for a black team to breathe. Brian Stoll, maybe a whistle, maybe just a smile. Jim Crow code broken, now they coming in the night. Wild Roy and Malone snatched him from his uncle's floor. Tortured that baby, Fanta round, body in the Tallahatchie roar. Mutilated face, mama said let the world see. Acquitted by all white jury, not guilty, set him free. Sparked the movement, Montgomery rose from the flames. But the Delta dirt still holding black boys' names. Emmett was 14, just a child in his prime. Lynched for existing in a twisted mind. Emmett Till, Nolan Wells, Delta shadows ringing bells. Black life cheap in these haunted lands. Most High coming with justice in his hands. 2026 July 4th, independence gone wrong. Broke the Horn Island with the crew, singing freedom songs. 18 years young, big heart, only copper in the mix. Friends white as the judge that let killers walking. 55 disappeared that day, body found on the shore 2 nights later. They say drowning, no foul play, but the family know better. Questions swimming deeper than the Gulf water's cold. Why leave your phone? Why the silence from the foe? Mississippi again, history echoing loud. Ben Crump calling for truth, independent. Autopsy proud, was it accident or the past rising from the mud? Black boy with white friends, trust issues in our blood.
Why the same soil claim my sons? Ancestor never left, we still the chosen one.
From Till's open casket to Nolan's unanswered call. In time signs, Leviathan rising, watch the fall. No hate, just black love, we hold each other tight. But stop crashing out on each other and demand what's right.
Peace be still,
Through the storm we prevail,
Father's child,
we shall not fail. Both in Mississippi, Delta's cruel embrace. One lynched open, one body lost without a trace. Emmett's killers brag after the verdict came. Nolan's story fogged in speculation and shame. 14 or 18, young kings taken too soon. Waters claim the bodies, but the spirit touched the moon. Same fear, same doubt, same racist undercurrent flow. But we wiser now, cameras, voices won't let go. Indigenous copper, mountain builder, stand tall. We walk together, ancestors answer the call. No more silent nights, no more cover graves. Justice for Emmett, justice for Nolan. Raise the blade.
Emmett Till, Nolan Wells,
Tell now,
Emmett Till,
but our spirit never failed. We got black love, revolution now. Most High know my heart, make it right somehow.
peace be still.
Peace be still. From Till to West, the story's still real. Let the world see, let the truth be free. Let the world see, let the world see. Let the truth be free.
Right. Hello, everyone. Grand Rising. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your morning wake up call. So, as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Okay, so let's get ready to get into it. Hello, Juju, Mr. Elevation. Julu is here. All right, Danielle Nallen. All right, the lovely T. Let's get into it. Red Wine Entertainment, Mr. Elevation, Sheila, Love Christie, Bronze Flat Power God, Chelsea, We the People, Mel. All right, Brandy is here. Okay, with that being said, hey Pearly, Denise is here. All right, Glenn. Everyone, please hit that like button. Thank you in advance. Okay, Lynetta, Angie, We the People, did I say you? Trisha, Glenn. Shout out to all of my loyal royals and everyone tuned into the Queen. Now let's get ready to get it started. Okay, hit that like button, double check and make sure that you're still subscribed, especially if you have not been receiving your notifications. Okay, also, is J Love the Queen in here? Because J Love the Queen, I missed one of her super chats yesterday. Okay, and so thank you for that, beloved. I don't think she's in here yet. Okay, Truth, Brown, Cherokee, Descendant, Dale. All right, with that being said, hey, Bungani, let's get ready to get into it. Before we get started, the infamous Marty Mark just entered the chat. Before we get started, let's have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes. Here we go.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
All right, so with that being said, don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes hair oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts. You can also find her products at Walmart.com. And don't forget that she sells beard oil. Okay, so let's get into it. Now, first of all, Nolan's parents have been receiving some harassing phone calls. You know, unlike the other people who are feigning and pretending to be the victims and acting as though people are calling and threatening them and all of that. My question is, how are these people getting their phone numbers? Because if people are calling and threatening them and trying to show up to their house, like Officer Lion Brandon Tatum wants us to think, I would just like to know how they found out where they live, how they know their addresses, and all these things. It has to be people that they know, okay? So they can cut the crap. Now, here's what Mrs. Christine Wansley said. She says, please do not call my or my husband's phone trying to give us advice about how we're handling the death of our child. Okay, telling us how to handle people and questioning our legal team. We're all doing our best. And at the end of the day, the only question Elmer and I need answered is what happened to our son, Nolan. Okay? Now, I don't know who these people think they are, but it's the audacity of it to me, for me. Who do they think they are calling these parents after they have lost and are still grieving their son and at the same time trying to fight for justice to dare to tell them how they should be acting? Okay, and what they in fact should be doing. Everyone does not act the same nor grieve the same. And I just found it, you know, some people have a whole lot of nerve. Some people have a whole lot of nerve. Okay? With that all been said, they need to forward those phone calls to me because I'll set them straight real quick. Please pay attention. Now, with that all being said, likes up, everyone please like and share. Now, I'm going to read to you all what this lawyer wrote. So this lawyer says, Nolan wore a bush hairstyle, which could absorb damage to the skin encasing the skull, but not prevent closed head trauma, which would be an injury to the brain. Okay, from a blunt force object. Now, red discoloration in the deep tissue. Okay, because basically he must be explaining the red that was on the back of Nolan's head right there, as you can see. Okay, so anyway, it goes on to say red discoloration in the deep soft tissue can be evidence of blunt force trauma. So you cannot rule that out. Okay. And so he said it could be a subdural or a subarachnoid hemorrhaging is what he says that could possibly be. Now, further, hold on, let me make sure this man's a lawyer or is he a doctor? Okay, I think he's a lawyer. But anyway, goes on to say further, the missing portions of the throat could have shown evidence of asphyxia or strangulation and ruled it in or out. Okay, isn't that what I told you all? Let me tell you all something. Let me just tell you all something. This is exactly why, in my opinion, that Ocean Springs chose to keep the hyoid bone and the trachea. Okay, because they kept that. They kept that. That absolutely would have shown evidence of someone being strangled. Okay, which is what I think actually happened. And not to mention being hit in the back of the head first. Now, that's just my assessment, but let me continue. I'm no pathologist. I'm out here just grasping at straws, basically. But that is plausible. Okay, so anywho, goes on to say, but because it was missing, it's impossible to do either. Now, was it a sleeper hold performed in water? A 2.5 to the back of the, I'm sorry, a 2x4 to the back of the head, near or in the water, punched out and landing on the back of the head against a hard surface like concrete or asphalt. What's up with people? Without answers, the mind wanders because a healthy 18-year-old elite athlete just does not drop dead and then all of a sudden 2 days later washes up on the shore of Gilligan's Island of all places. Now, without answers, this case has the stench of bigotry and the stain of a massive government cover-up. The lungs are obviously helpful in ruling in or out drowning as a cause of death. Now, why would they not be preserved and substantially intact? I understand removing specimen for testing, but not destroying organs so badly that they cannot be tested by other experts, or failing to preserve them to the point where they are no longer have any evidentiary value. Okay, and why not put the transferee doctor on notice of the missing body parts prior to the body arriving, or prior to the body arriving, or the family burial? Now, that's just professional courtesy. Okay, that's professional courtesy, and it's professional, and any kind of profession, okay, should be confident in his or her work and or their analysis, or any kind of professional, I'm sorry, should be confident in his or her work or analysis. So many questions, so little answers. But this whodunit case appears more like a cover-up for a homicide rather than an inconsequential series of irregularities. And we all know that in some cases, the cover is just as bad as the crime. There needs to be accountability and jail time. However, I doubt it that such fundamental notions of justice are capable of being actualized in the state of Mississippi. Signed, the warrior lawyer. Okay, I have to agree. I have to absolutely agree. This is all very problematic in my opinion. Like I told you all this right up in here gone. The trachea, the hyoid, the larynx, all of this, the front of the throat, gone. Okay, absolutely gone. And didn't even have the decency to let them know ahead of time. Okay, that they weren't going to include the throat area. Like, that's real crazy to me. That is absolutely crazy. Now, they said there was no skull fractures identified, no deep soft tissue injuries. But so we can see why it's clearly undetermined. Okay. Moving right along. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Now, let's go to this thing from TMZ. Remember I told you all on yesterday that TMZ basically said that there was evidence that was accidentally leaked? Now, the thing about that was they supposedly sent some information on Nolan's death to an unnamed person. And then so TMZ wanted the same information. And this is what they sent them. July the 22nd of 2026. They say, this is a request for disclosure of public records to the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources for Nolan Wells. Now it says, I am in receipt of your payment in the amount of $50 for the processing of the records request that you submitted on or about July the 10th of 2026. Please be advised that I will be returning your check to you to the above address. Okay, previously the MDMR inadvertently released records in relation to this matter. Subsequent to this inadvertent disclosure of records, the MDMR was notified by the Jackson County District Attorney that there is an ongoing death investigation of Nolan Wells, which will be presented to a Jackson County grand jury. And therefore, the records in the possession of the correspondence from the District Attorney, Angel Myers McAlrath, to MDRM Executive Director General Spraggins attached here too. Now, therefore, based on the assertion of privilege by and the instructions of District Attorney McAlrath and the MDMR is withholding production of the requested records at this time. If anything further is needed, please feel free to contact me. Thank you for your cooperation in this matter. Let me just tell you all something. You know what that means? That means that they're not releasing a darn thing. Everything's going to go straight to the grand jury. Now, maybe they'll release it after it goes to the grand jury, because at that point, they'll know whether or not they have anything to worry about. Here's what I'm willing to bet. Don't forget that I told you all this, and make sure you remember that you heard it here first. Here's how this is all going to go. What these devils are going to do, okay, please pay attention, because I believe they're going to get away with it. I believe these low down dirty scoundrels are absolutely going to get away with it. They've set everything in motion, and it is quite a significant plot and plan. So what they're going to do is, rather than releasing their autopsy, which they could have already done by now, as I've been saying, they're going to send it straight to the grand jury, where the grand jury will determine and decide for themselves if there's any charges that need to be, that anyone needs to be indicted. And my guess is no one's going to be indicted, because whatever they send to the grand jury is going to be absolutely beneficial to the fake friends, okay, i.e. the frenemies. What they're going to send them is information from the autopsy that will suggest an accidental drowning. Okay, that's what I'm willing to bet. That they're going to send that to the grand jury, something that suggests an accidental drowning. And we're not going to see that autopsy report, because if we were to see it and then compare it to the one that we've already seen, well, we might just be able to find out more of the lies and see more of the cover up. Okay, please pay attention. This is the play here, because there's no way they're going to tell me that even after they remove those items from Nolan's body, if you're already saying it's an accidental drowning, no evidence of foul play, what are you researching further for? You're not, in my opinion. You're just holding that stuff. You probably destroyed it already. Who knows? But you're clearly holding it so the other pathologists can't figure out what really happened to Nolan. And that's just really a darn shame. Okay, they've been doing this for decades. They've been doing it long enough to know exactly how to get away with it. Also, I want you to pay attention, because Brandon Tatum, like I told you all yesterday, all he did during that entire interview was raise reasonable doubt in case they do get indicted and have to go to court. Okay, because either way, they're getting off. If they don't get indicted, we know they're getting off. And if they do get indicted, they're still going to get off, because it's going to be a reasonable doubt. I'm pretty sure they have set everything in play, and pay attention to the fact that we know that Warren's stepmother is a whole judge with all the connections that she has. Justice for him, or the judicial system's treatment of him, will be nothing like how it would treat someone else. This is all a darn shame. Like, this is really, really disheartening. Okay, but let's talk about the boat. Let's talk about the boat, because they claim that they're going to search the boat, right? Now, I have several questions as to whether or not this is the actual boat that they were on. Okay, I have several questions. Now, listen to this. Nolan Wells investigation, boat owners allow police search. Woman denies being with him on final day. So the parents of Nolan Wells's friend allowed their boat to be searched by police amid the investigation into the teenager's death. Now, this is what TMZ has reported. So TMZ says they obtained the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources report detailing the search, which was launched after Nolan's mom reported him missing on July the 4th. So, as you know, Nolan and his friends went out to Horn Island, but he never returned home. His body was found on July the 6th near the last spot that he was seen. His pals told cops Nolan told them he was staying on the island to hang out with a girl, but the girl told the police Nolan said he was headed back with his friends. I believe Katie. Still to this day, I believe Katie. Okay, Warren was lying during that entire interview. He was telling a bunch of lies as far as I'm concerned. Now, on July the 8th, investigators met with Jerry Adkerson and Jennifer Pyron, okay, who are grandfather and mother of one of Nolan's friends. Now, funny thing is, they don't say which one. Was it Wyatt? Because we were told earlier in the reports that was Wyatt's boat. So the report says Jerry signed docs allowing the officers to search their boat and take the GPS data. Now, if they searched the boat, did they use an luminol? Did they have the crime scene investigators come out there to not just search it, but to gather and collect any possible evidence that was on that boat? This is what I want to know. Okay, now the permission to search document states that Jerry gave permission for the investigators to remove any document or item from the boat they deemed important for their probe. Now, the cops say they also met with another man named Bart Edmiston Jr. and pulled data from his boat as well. Now, the report notes investigators also went out to the residence of a woman named Laney, who they say was originally reported to be on Horn Island with a group that included Nolan. It's unclear if Laney is the girl Nolan's friends say told them he was staying behind with on the island. What? Who is this lady person all of a sudden? Because they have been saying Katie McCormick. Are you all listening to this? Hold on, let me read that again. Now, the report notes investigators also went out to the residence of a woman named Laney, who they say was originally reported to be on Horn Island with the group that included Nolan. It's unclear if Laney is the girlfriend's. This has to be a typo. Is the girlfriends say Nolan told them he was staying behind with the island? I think it should read, they don't know. It's unclear if this person, Laney, is the girl that the friends are claiming Nolan stayed behind with. That's what it should say, I'm pretty sure. Now, it goes on to say the report said Laney said she was not on Horn Island, but was at a different island with a different group of friends on July the 4th. Okay, listen, let me tell y'all something. What this sounds like is them trying to muddy the darn waters. Because who in the world is Laney? How all of a sudden did this person enter the chat? Okay. How did this person enter the chat? Okay, how did it? Now, Navin Johnson says you got it all mixed up. I don't have anything mixed up, beloved. I'm reading what the report says, and that's what it says. I don't have anything mixed up. It sounds like they're telling a whole bunch of damn lies. And where is this Katie McCormick? Where is Katie McCormick? That's what I want to know. Honey, don't tell me I'm mixed up. Okay, at the end of the day, what's really going on here? This is real crazy. This person, Laney, all of a sudden jumps into the mix, and they're saying that they think maybe this is the person that he was supposed to stay with. I don't know what's going on here, but it sounds like a bunch of BS, okay? And this is exactly what I told you all. Okay, this is nothing more than the makings of reasonable doubt. That's what it is. Andy said they're all lying and covered up. Exactly. Okay, exactly. Now hold on. Hold on, because I want you all to see something. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Now, here's a report, another report. It says Nolan update. Mystery girl Nolan Wells talked to on the island moments before vanishing, identified as her sister, disputes the friend's story. And the friend they're talking about is Warren. Okay, so the fresh claims have deepened the mystery surrounding the football star's final hours after conflicting versions emerged over whether he ever intended to stay behind on Mississippi's Horn Island. So Nolan Wells, 18 years old, disappeared 4th of July on a trip to Horn Island, 10 miles off Mississippi's Gulf Coast, before his body was found in the water 2 days later. Now, his friends have previously claimed that they were forced to leave after their boat developed problems with its bilge pump, and that Nolan chose to remain on the island because he was talking to a girl. That mystery girl has now reportedly been identified as 19-year-old Katie McCormick. Okay, and she was identified by the Daily Mail. But McCormick's older sister, Gracie, has disputed the version of events given by Nolan's friends. So according to the outlet, Nolan has spent around 5 hours celebrating Independence Day with hundreds of other college students before his friends rushed back to the mainland because their boat was allegedly taking on water. His pals reportedly claimed Nolan told them to leave without him because he was engrossed in conversation with McCormick. Now, Ashley Cole, the mother of Nolan's best friend, Warren Hudson, they need to stop saying that this is his best friend. Okay? They need to cut it all out because that's a lie from the pits of hell. Anyway, Ashley Cole, the mother of Warren Hudson, previously said the group returned to shore after the boat developed a bilge pump problem while Nolan stayed behind. But Gracie McCormick insists her sister believed Nolan was heading back with the group he arrived with. She says Katie had a conversation and assumed that Nolan was getting ready to get on the boat that he came on. Katie assumed the friends telling him to get on the boat wouldn't have left him. Now, Gracie said her sister had traveled to Horn Island with a different group before later leaving with her brother Tony and his fiancée, Eva Criddle. She says, we have given all the answers we can give to his mom and the authorities. Okay, so Katie has talked to Mrs. Wansley. That's what she's basically saying, her sister is saying. Now, there has been no suggestion of wrongdoing by Katie McCormick. Although she has not spoken publicly since Nolan disappeared, she reportedly responded to a social media post defending her. It said, what's understood don't need to be said. I love y'all. Just pray for his family and friends. Now, that's what Katie wrote on social media in response to someone's post. She says, I'm good, and all I can do is pray for healing over them. This is a terrible situation in all. Now, the conflicting accounts have fueled concerns from Nolan's grieving family, whose attorney Ben Crump has repeatedly questioned the differing versions of events. Now, this is what Crump says. She's saying he went and got on the boat. They saying he didn't get on the boat. So which is it? The fact that you have the young lady who said that Nolan said he was going to get back on the boat with the boys, and then the boys say no. Nolan told them he was going to stay with the girl. Somebody must not be telling the truth. Now, that's what Ben Crump said. Now, it comes after fresh details emerged about the condition of Nolan's body when volunteer search crews found him. Like up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Now, the United Cajun Navy said the teenager was discovered face down in the water wearing only swim trunks after confusion over claims that he had been fully clothed. Attorney Ben Crump had earlier referred to Nolan being found face down and fully clothed while discussing the family's independent autopsy, but the search organization insisted that description was inaccurate, saying we didn't say Nolan was fully clothed when we found him. That's what they wrote on X. And then they said he was wearing only swim trunks. Please don't misrepresent our words. Well, I'm sure he wasn't trying to misrepresent the words. He probably just made a mistake inadvertently. Now, an independent autopsy has since left both Nolan's cause and manner of death undetermined. Forensic pathologist Dr. Roger Mitchell identified an unexplained area of red discoloration on the back of Nolan's head, but said the examination was limited because key organs, including his throat and lungs, were unavailable after the first autopsy. So according to Crump, foul play has not been ruled out. He says we have more questions than answers. We will continue to persist. Now, Jackson County Sheriff John Ledbetter has said his investigators have not found evidence indicating a crime. So why did they keep those darn body parts? Why didn't they just send them on to Dr. Roger Miller so he could do his autopsy? okay, with all of the information needed. Anyway, goes on to say that they have found no evidence indicating a crime occurred, but stress the investigation remains active and will eventually be presented to a grand jury. So let me just tell you all something. This is very telling right here, folks. This is very telling. I want you all to pay attention because they're adamant that they don't see or have reason to believe that a crime has occurred. Okay? That's what they. Let me just get rid of this troll talking about why can't blacks swim. Okay, first of all, don't come here calling us blacks. Okay? And then look at his name. Trayvon is burning in hell. These people are so pathetic and sad. Do they really think that bothers us? Like, this is just really so obtuse. Okay, I saw the troll, honey. I got rid of one of them. Moderators, do your jobs, please. Okay, if y'all see trolls, get rid of them post haste. Okay. Now, with that all being said, yeah, that's right. Child of the sun. I'm sorry. Yeah, there was no lungs. They removed the lungs and the throat. Okay, and now they're saying there's no crime. So please pay attention. Why would you be presenting? Let me just tell you something. Why would you be presenting anything to the grand jury when you do not think? Okay, when you do not think there was a crime. What is the point? The point is likely so that everyone will shut the hell up. And so we'll stop accusing them. And so when they go to the grand jury and take little to no evidence, because remember, the prosecution gets to make the case in front of the grand jury. You can indict a ham sandwich as the running joke. So with that being said, if they want anyone can indict it, they will be. But if no one is indicted, that means they didn't want them to, which is exactly the case, okay? Because they're not even admitting that there was a crime. Okay, they're not even admitting that there was a crime. So we already know how this is going to go. Okay, we already know how this is going to go. Hold on, I'm getting rid of a troll. Sorry. Now, with that all being said, I got rid of them, Jerron. Thank you, beloved, for putting their name in the chat. Okay, so anywho, we can pretty much assume how this is going to turn out. And then here's the thing. This is how you know that there's something shady going on, beloveds, because think about this. If these people knew that absolutely nothing happened, okay, if they knew that nothing happened, you all do me a favor, beloveds. Please do not, I'm going to ask you again, do not entertain the trolls. Okay, please do not entertain the trolls. Okay, that's what they want. They want you to engage them and to be distracted. All right, so please don't entertain them. Thank you in advance. So they don't want to show the autopsy report, but if in fact, no, I already got him, beloved. I already got rid of him. Okay, y'all, excuse me because I'm getting rid of trolls at the same time. Okay, anyway, where are the moderators? Are any of the moderators here? Am I up here fending for myself? I'm going to have to start making people temporary moderators or something, honey, because my moderators must be on break. So anyway, what I'm saying is this. What I'm saying is this. Terry, you only blocked him from yourself, beloved. Unless you're a moderator, you can only block them from yourself. Okay? Thank you. Now, with that all being said, that's right, I'm multitasking. Okay, so here's the thing. If they really felt like this was a case of just an accidental drowning, they wouldn't be sitting here taking out the throat and lungs. They wouldn't be sitting here trying to hamper the other autopsy. Okay, they wouldn't be doing all of the things that they're doing. And from the things that we've seen and heard, how in the world do they think possibly that there was no crime committed? How are they not even the least bit suspicious? Okay, I have questions. Now, mind you, if we look at the second autopsy report and they seem to not be able to 100% say, they can't rule out foul play, don't you think the other autopsy report likely showed that there was absolutely foul play? Because they had all the ingredients. Okay, they had everything, all the moving parts. They had it in their possession. So with that all being said, I find it very interesting. This is nothing but a whole cover-up. Okay, that's all it is. But let's continue. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Now, moving right along, and then the DA coming out yesterday. And here's the thing. The DA came out yesterday and basically told people to not speculate and not to, not to be listening to the misinformation and all these things. But like I told you all, the first one to speculate was none other. The first one to speculate was none other than Sheriff Ledbetter himself. And now what I want to do is this. I'm going to go back to some of the things that, in fact, I'm going to pull up the video from yesterday because I want to go back to some of the things that he said, because here's the thing. Did anyone notice how he seemed to have such a lack of empathy? How he was talking about Nolan as if Nolan was no one that he even knew personally. He was talking about Nolan so matter-of-factly as if he was ordering lunch. There was no emotion. There was no sorrow. And even at the part, I want you all to pay attention, because even at the part where he said that he felt that he broke down. You all remember that part? He said it twice. He said, I broke down. Now, when he said that, what I found interesting is that even recalling or recounting the fact that you supposedly broke down would have likely made the average person tear up at least a little bit or get emotional to the point that their voice may have changed or anything like that. But he didn't. He showed a complete and utter lack of emotion. And then pay attention, as I pointed out to you, he tried to blame Javon. He mentioned Javon twice. Okay, in the part one and in the part that we watched yesterday. Okay. Warren tried to blame Javon, and Jack spoke of Nolan in the past tense when the dad went to get their keys. I'm reading my notes. Okay, so yeah, think about that. That was Jax that said that when the father went to go get the keys. The father went to go get the keys. He spoke of him. He referred to him as was. He was like a brother to me. Okay? And then here's the thing. Why did he even feel the need to explain himself? Because Nolan's body had not even been found at that point. The father was going to pick up the keys before Nolan's body even washed up to shore. So that being said, why did he feel the need to say Nolan was like a friend to me? Why did he even say that? Unless you knew something happened to Nolan. Who says that? So I'm missing, or anyone's missing, the father comes to pick up the keys or pick up whatever, and then you immediately start mayo-splaining, talking about, oh, he was like a brother to me. That means you know something happened, and you know what happened. Okay, that's what that means. Please pay attention. Now, I'm going to go to this video from yesterday, like I said, so we can go to some of these key points of what of what Warren was saying when he was talking to Tatum, the raccoon, mind you. So I'm going to go to the 58-minute mark first. Just the video I'm going to show you, but supposedly someone claiming to know something.
Test, which are looking for these little creatures at a microscopic level. I'm hoping they're doing that. And, beyond that, you're looking for specific trauma. And right now they're not.
Oh, this is why I want you all to listen to this part. Okay, I already wrote down some timestamps earlier. Okay, so this is what I want you all to pay attention to. Now, this guy right here, I want you all to pay attention to what he says, because he says something about when the host asked him about Nolan being possibly held down underwater. Now listen to how he answers that.
Not really say anything about it.
Okay, so we'll see what the results of the state medical examination are. Could be accidental, could be just a tragic accident, but we'll have.
Hold on, let me go back a little bit. On conclusion, they're just showing you their findings. The picture, it looks like, I don't know if this is real. Listen, I can't verify or anything because this is just a video. I'm going to show you one hit Nolan in the back of the head. Now, this is just speculation. Again, I don't know. But it seems that possibly someone could have hit him in the back of the head.
Nolan's head. If I even go to the report and I go to the first page of it, they call it focal area of red discoloration in the soft tissue of the back of the head, occipital region. Talk to me about what that could be. And this is the most important question, I think. whatever this is, this abrasion, this discoloration, potential injury, whatever, the only way it could have been inflicted is before.
Hold on, beloveds. Let me just say something real quick, okay? Because I'm not liking all the interruptions in the chat. Okay, hold on. Now, someone says, let me see who said that exactly. Okay, Urban Root said, anyone with a difference of an opinion is a troll. Well, we don't know. That depends on how you say your opinion, how you state your opinion. If you're just disagreeing, that's one thing. But if you're here talking slick and trying to be sarcastic or rude, yeah, you're a troll. That's how that goes. Okay? That's how that goes. And I'll determine what I decide is troll behavior. Okay, so if you don't want to be deemed as a troll, don't be in here talking crazy. You can ask questions, you can disagree. But if you're in here talking greasy, you're a troll and you're going to be put out. That's just how it goes. Okay, any more questions? All right, J. Rule says, Warren described that video of the argument we heard to Tatum in the interview again. Get in the effing boat. Replay the video in that interview again. Okay, thank you, beloved. Thank you, beloved. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Thank you for your donation as well. Okay, so now let's continue.
Nolan died, meaning he had to have been alive when this happened?
Well, what the doctor is saying that he cannot include or exclude, and what he would be looking for specifically in this red discoloration is that there is evidence of hemorrhage. One of the problems that he's running up against here, and it makes sense, is that he's in a significant state of decomposition at this point, particularly by the time the doctor is performing the second autopsy. So that area is compromised. He does make note of that. Also, I have to make this comment, Jesse, that with red discoloration like this, sometimes this is in fact indicative of decomposition. It'll turn to a red color. So he's trying to balance this along the way. And keep in mind, he frames everything from the perspective of the fact that this is an ongoing investigation. He has reached no definitive conclusions.
And that's what they do with a preliminary autopsy. Okay, that's what they do. They don't come to a full-on conclusion. They're just showing you their findings thus far.
Is that they do testing to see if he was drowned. You look in the inner ear, you look in the airway and in the lungs, and you also do diatome tests, which are looking for these little creatures at a microscopic level. I'm hoping they're doing that. And, beyond that, you're looking for specific trauma. And right now, they're not really saying anything about it.
Okay, so we'll see what the results of the state medical examination are. Could be accidental, could be just a tragic accident, but we'll have to see where this goes. Joseph Scott Morgan, thank you so much.
You know why I can't get to that darn part, but he specifically said, I wanted you all to hear that part. And the reason why, hold on, for the Diddy trial. I would think that it possibly, okay, I can't find the timestamp. I'm sorry, but there was a point when he asked him, what about the possibility of him falling off the boat or being held underwater? He said something like that. He definitely said being held down, right? So the doctor says that holding him down would have been hard. Now, my question is, why would he think that would be hard? Why would he think that would be hard? Because we know that from the story that I reported the other day about the 13-year-old, he was held down underwater. Okay, if you all remember, the 13-year-old by the name of Daryl Lowry, okay, he was held down by a 16-year-old or 17-year-old, and he was 13. So with that being said, if that were the case, it could have been multiple people holding him down. Okay, it could have been multiple people. Okay, who's to say that it was just one person? Okay, that's all I'm saying. But anyway, let's continue. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance. Now let's go to 1 hour and 23 minutes to that mark.
We're getting death threats, people trying to show up at their houses, but it doesn't appear that they.
Now you know he's telling a lie, right? You all do know that
These young men were hurting. They literally had tears in their eyes talking about their best friend who had died. And it's a shame that these race hustlers came out and
These race hustlers came out. He's the race hustler. The call's coming from inside his own house. Okay, and he said they had tears in their eyes. Okay, so I'm sorry. People can't fake tears. We've seen Karens do it every day. Okay, please pay attention.
Did what they did because Warren and others couldn't even go to the funeral because they were afraid somebody would attack them at the funeral, and they were not welcome there.
Who in the world is going to attack you at a funeral? So they weren't all do know that he's lying. Said they're getting death threats. Well, if that were
took an equivalent of a lie detector test and all passed, and they had nothing to do with this. And let me tell you this, Trace, these young men were hurting. They literally had tears in their eyes talking about their best friend who had died. And it's a shame that these race hustlers came out and
these race hustlers came out. He's the race hustler. The call's coming from inside his own house. Okay, now I want you all to pay attention. He said they took what is the equivalent of a lie detector test. Well, what is that? What kind of test was that they in fact took? And when did they take it? And where can we find the results? So likely what they did, since he said it was the equivalent, it may have been an eye detect computer voice stress analysis, which is known as a CVSA, okay, or an fMRI brain scanning, which I doubt they did any of the two. Okay, because that eye detect thing is like a 40-minute computer-based test where they use an eye tracker to monitor pupil dilation. Okay, this is what they do. So did they really do this, Brandon? Or are you just lying? Okay, I believe he's absolutely lying. I don't believe anything he says at the end of the day. He's sitting here painting narratives the whole entire time. That's what he does best. And the race hustler is him. Okay, please pay attention. Now, with that all being said, likes up, everyone, please like and share. Let's go to some of these videos. And then I will, in fact, I'll go back to that interview so we can hear the part. So we can hear more, more answers from what Warren was saying. And also, there is someone who is, I believe, a behavioral specialist who came out and talked about Warren's behavior. We're going to get into that too.
Wells' case is not just an accident that happened and is racism. I'd like to reiterate, what 18-year-old do you know that doesn't walk around with their phone 24/7, especially if they're going to an island? But besides that point, right? It's the middle of the day, 4 p.m. on 4th of July. They said that there was probably over 200 people there, right? So there's one group of people who says that they left Nolan on the island. Shady as fuck anyways. Why are you leaving anybody on an island? Weird. But even if they did leave him on the island, nobody from the island is coming forward and saying that they saw Nolan after 4 p.m. at all on the island. In fact, there are people saying that they saw him get back on the boat. But the friends swear that they left him on the island. Okay, so let's play devil's advocate. Let's say that the friends did leave him on the island. So none of those 200 people saw him at all past 4 p.m. None of those people saw him go into the water. None of those people saw him struggling in the water. Nothing. And one of the most controversial things that's been discussed about this case is the Snapchat, right? Apparently he had 2 different Snapchat accounts and they were wiped clean. That means no messages, no photos, no nothing. Okay, right? Most of the people I know that have Snapchat, their settings for the messages are on delete unless you save a photo from in chat, okay? Let's be real. This guy was 18 years old. He probably had his 2 Snapchat accounts for years, okay? He should have saved memories. He should have saved snaps in chat, okay? He should have a list of friends, a list of stories to watch. He should have probably a private story of his own. But no, it's wiped clean. That's not how Snapchat works. That's not how anybody uses Snapchat. Oh, but Paylo, why is this about race? It's in Mississippi. There was 3 white guys, 1 black guy. The 3 white guys made it back to shore. The 1 black guy didn't. And nobody's seen him since. Alive. May I remind you that the Emmett Till case happened in Mississippi, and that mother did not get justice until 22 years later. Emmett Till's mom did exactly what Nolan Wells' mom is doing right now, and it's sick.
Exactly. The same thing I told you all days ago. Okay, and it's a shame that people are still harassing the parents and trying to tell them what they should be doing. okay, trying to tell them what they should be doing. Did you all know that Diddy got into a fight in jail? Okay, did y'all know Diddy got into a fight in jail? I might talk about it before the live's over. I'm Dr. Ahmadiyyah Shakur. So the district attorney in the Nolan Wells case has come out and spoken. Let's get into it. Now, I find it very interesting because you see, Sheriff Ledbetter was recently confronted by a journalist who was asking him questions about the investigation and also wanted to know what's going on with the first autopsy report, why that hasn't been released as of yet. He seemed like he was very annoyed that she was daring to question him, and she was someone who looks like me, by the way, and you could just see the disdain in his face. I don't think he likes people who look like me, but hey, what do I know? But nonetheless, he referred her to the DA's office, okay? That's what he told her. He also said that, and he said this kind of matter-of-factly, that basically they don't have to release that other autopsy report. So is that what he's trying to say? They're not going to release it? Now, are they going to at least give the information from that report to Ben Crump's team? Okay, so that they can get to a more accurate assessment of the situation and of, in fact, how the cause and the manner of Nolan's death occurred. Is he even going to do that? Because it seems like he doesn't want to be transparent. It seems like all of them, just want to cover things up and sweep things under the rug. And then you have Officer Tatum sitting here, interviewing Warren and going down to Mississippi and said that he talked to all of the people that were there and that he got all this information, that they took lie detector tests. I mean, basically saying that, these kids didn't do anything wrong and that we're all just a bunch of racist haters who are just trying to go in on them. That's basically what he said. I'm paraphrasing, but clearly that's what he was trying to say. Okay, so the thing is, he's the one that's rage baiting. Okay, not us. You see, people who look like me trying to search for answers when there's a history of racial things that happened down there in Mississippi. Okay, when there's a history of people who look like me going off with people who don't look like them and not turning up alive. Okay, that's why we have questions. Those are the reasons that we're up in arms. Okay, not just in Nolan's case, but in all the other cases recently in the last couple of months. Okay, so if you ask me, the one that is sitting here trying to stoke racial tensions is Brandon Tatum. Okay, please pay attention. Now, the district attorney said that they're trying to take their time and they're doing a thorough investigation just as they would for anyone else in any other situation. Okay, that's all fine, but at the end of the day, we would like some transparency. She also talked about a bunch of misinformation being put out on social media. Well, what does she expect? When they're not giving people information, they're being so tight-lipped about it, and even to the point that Mrs. Wansley had to reach out to them because they hadn't contacted her in about a week. Okay, about her own son's death. So do they really seem like they're so concerned and that they really want justice and truth? They don't seem like it. And so that's why people have all of these questions. Okay, please pay attention. And I also find it interesting that all of these people are having so much to say all of a sudden now that the funeral has passed and now that Ben Crump has put out the independent autopsy reports. Now everybody's got so much to say. It's like they're all just trying to do damage control because before everyone was so tight-lipped. No one was saying anything. But now we have the DA. Okay, we previously had the governor, and now we have Warren and Lucas Aziz or V's. We have them coming out. Okay, and I find it interesting that these people will go on podcasts, like I said, but they won't go to a regular news outlet. And didn't the judge say that they weren't going to be talking about this any further, specifically to media or whatever, and that they just really didn't want any harm to come to the young children? But now everybody's talking about it. They've reopened their social media, posting those same young children that she claims were threatened and all of that. And then Brandon Tatum claims that while he was down there in Mississippi, that he witnessed threats made unto these young men. Okay, said that there were people trying to come to their houses and all of these things. Well, I'd like to see his receipts on that because I think that he's just out here trying to rage bait as per usual. But he'll say to someone of my skin tone, someone who's calling out racism and BS, he'll say we're the ones doing that. Okay, every accusation is in fact a confession. Okay, please pay attention. Now, also today it was reported that, down there in Ocean Springs, they're still investigating the death of Nolan as a suspected accidental drowning. So they still think that there's no foul play. Okay, according to reports. But I find that interesting. I find it interesting because I thought maybe they had changed the course of their investigation because they kept, the parts of Nolan's throat. Okay, and when you keep those parts and the lungs and all of that. Well, of course, you want to keep certain things because you need further research, further testing to be done. But if you've already made up your mind that it's an accidental drowning, are you really going to be doing further testing? Is that why you really kept the parts of his throat and his other organs? Or did they keep it just so they could hamper the independent autopsy so that Dr. Robert Mitchell wouldn't be able to come to an accurate assessment or conclusion because there were many missing parts, okay, that he would have needed for his investigation to be thorough. Okay, please pay attention. And with Sheriff Ledbetter basically saying they don't have to release the first autopsy report makes me think that they absolutely are trying to cover it all up, because why wouldn't they want to be transparent? Isn't that what he promised in the first place? Okay, please pay attention. Also, please pay attention to how Warren and Lucas are trying to paint this narrative that Nolan was drunk. Okay, that he was extremely drunk, saying that he was hammered, that his speech was slurred, okay, that he was moving slowly. Now, if that were true, my question to them is this. If they were such good friends of Nolan's, why would they have left him there by himself, okay, on a wing and a prayer, hoping that he could find a ride back if they knew that he was that intoxicated? Because that would have made me think, if it were my friend, that possibly he wasn't in his right mind. So why would I just leave him there to fend for himself? Okay, who does that? Okay, please pay attention. At the end of the day, I hope that we get to the truth of the matter, whether someone did something nefarious to Nolan or not. I hope we find the truth so that Nolan's parents can get answers and hopefully find justice. Okay, rest in peace to Nolan, and hashtag justice for Nolan Wells. Okay, absolutely egregious. Absolutely egregious. Like up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. I don't believe a thing that these devils are saying, specifically Warren. And if anything happened to Nolan at their hands, I believe that Warren is the one that did it. Okay, I would believe Warren is the one that did it. Now, Miss Ray says TMZ's Harvey said his theory is that the boys was drinking and they got into a fight and someone pushed Nolan off the boat and he hit his head. Hey, you know, that sounds plausible. That absolutely could have happened. Okay, but at least we know that Harvey knows that it's not just an accidental drowning, okay, that something was done to him. At least he's not trying to play crazy. Okay, let's continue.
Sam here for a Nolan Xavier Wells update, and Jib Javelin Warren on Officer Race Batum Tatum is just telling it all and says he is the one with his arm around Nolan in the famous pool picture. Now, he says it took place on June 27th, a week before 4th of July. But like I've shown, that picture can easily, the data can be changed on it. So do we actually believe him? And I say thank you to Officer Race Batum Tatum for having him on the interview, because this kid is a babbling brook of BS and is just telling it all. I'm so shocked that police, during an open investigation and somebody who is allegedly a witness to all of this, they're allowing him to go on a podcast before spewing it, before giving any information out to us, the public. And then now his mom is going to go on this crappy podcast. This is just hilarious to me. I guess Candace Owens was busy because the new pony in town is Officer Race Batum Tatum, and he is helping these YTs to tell it all. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Secret Service Sam out. Samson for president.
You know, I just really wonder what happened to Nolan. I really wonder. I'm thinking, do you all think, once in the chat, do you all think that possibly Nolan was hung? Once in the chat, what do you all think? What do you all think? And that's a good name for him, Nubia. Okay, Nubia Rock, Race Batum Tatum. Exactly. Because that's all he does. Okay, that's all he does. Let's go to this next clip from Sam where he talks about Warren claiming that he's the best friend. So a lot of people are putting ones, you know, because that's what some people are saying on TikTok. Okay, at the end of the day, because think about that knot on the back of the head, that bump to the back of the head by the occipital bone. Now, someone said that the fact that they removed the front of the throat is very suspicious, which of course it is. And then also look at the back of it. Think about the back of his head, the occipital bone. Now, they said that if he was hung and then they cut the rope and then he could have hit his head or something like that. I don't know. But at the end of the day, we need more answers from Sheriff Ledbetter. Okay. I just wish they would release that autopsy report, but that's never going to happen. So we'll just be left to a guessing game. Please pay attention.
I'm here for a Nolan Xavier Wells update. An officer, Race Batum Tatum, went to Horn Island thinking he did something. By the way, he's MAGA. His wife's MAGA. Don't be surprised at the way he talks. He is comforting white fragility. He has a My Pillow for white fragility, and that's how he makes his money, is race baiting them. Anyway, I'm digressulating. He went to the island with Warren and asked him about the cell phone. Check this out.
People come out here, especially on the 4th and, Memorial Day, days like that, they come out here to celebrate, and people get on the water to be off their phones, first off. Second off, if I'm sitting waist deep in water and all my friends are, everybody's leaving their phone on a boat, in a lake, if you're sitting on a pond, and no one's getting out of the water with their phone in their hand, unless, it's to take a quick picture. But most of the pictures taken on the 4th of July were on the boat. Yeah. I mean, and, salt water, if you drop your phone in salt water, most of the time you're not going to get it back. Yeah. Unless you're crazy. I'm not walking around with my phone in my hand. I've been walking around Horn Island,
We know this, man. Do you think we're stupid? The question he should have asked him is, why did Nolan not get his phone back after you guys left him on the island? Who does that?
I mean, I grabbed my phone when I left the Palm Beach to get on the boat with Triton. To get on the boat with Wyatt, because we were having, boat issues. And
so let me get this straight, Warren. You grabbed your phone off the boat when you got onto a different boat. So why didn't Nolan grab his phone? You see how stupid this looks? Everybody in their right mind understands how technology works, and that, you might want to leave your phone on a boat while you're just chilling in the water. But the fact is, after you guys left, and don't even get me started on your best friend, there's nothing in this man's body language that points to this is your best friend. You're not crying. You're not visibly upset. You're not making eye contact. You're doing nothing that a best friend would do. Don't even call yourself a best friend of Nolan Xavier Wells, because we all know it's a straight up lie. And if you think you're a best friend and I didn't even see you at the funeral, and you deleted all your social media presence, and you had your stepmom judge put out statements for you, you guys withheld phones, you withheld car keys from the parents who just want answers, and you won't give them to them, you are no best friend to anybody. And I hope justice finds its way for anybody who had anything to do with what happened to that beautiful man, Nolan Xavier Wells. Secrets.
All right, because it's absolutely egregious. Okay, so now what I want to do, beloveds, I want to go to this therapist. Hold on, let me find that really quick. Okay, yeah, I want to go to this therapist who talks about Warren's interview. Okay, let's get into it. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Okay, shout out to Steve for sending me this, beloved. Okay, here we go. I'm going to share my screen. Therapist reacts to Warren Hudson interview about Nolan Xavier Wells. Let's get into it. I'm going to have to use an overlay because I do not have permission to use this man's video. Okay, but shout out to him. Let me see what his channel is. Elliot Connie. Okay, let me like the video. Okay. Now, with that all being said, let's get into it.
A young man who describes Nolan Wells as a brother and best friend did an interview yesterday. And being a practicing psychotherapist, I noticed a couple of things about his body language and his vocal tone that I want to share with you. So I'm going to show you a clip from that interview, and then let's talk about it.
Nolan, I could describe Nolan in a million ways. I mean, Nolan was not just a best friend of me, but he was a brother. I grew up through elementary, middle school, high school, and even our freshman year of college. We talked on the phone all the time. We were really close friends. And Nolan was like a brother to me. And Nolan lit up every room he walked in. He always had a smile on his face. He always had something good to say. I've never seen Nolan get in an argument with somebody.
When the incident happened.
Okay. Being from the Gulf Coast, there's a boating and fishing is very, very popular. The 4th of July, every year, my friends and I, or my family and I, are out on the water. That's the one day is guaranteed everybody's going out. And that's a known thing. Everybody's trying to get a ride out to Horn Island, or, people go to Ship Island, but most of everybody from Ocean Springs and the Gulf Coast go to Horn Island. And, we went last year. Nolan was on the boat with me last year. And, he was, this was a common thing. My friends go on the boat when we were home. I talked to Nolan, and, Nolan was drinking. Everybody was drinking, most of everybody. And Nolan seemed completely fine every time I talked to him. We had just regular conversations, and, Nolan was making me laugh. I had a couple conversations with Nolan and Javon, Nolan and my buddy James, Nolan. And I could tell you, I talked to Nolan a couple times, but it wasn't like I was strictly sitting there talking to Nolan the whole day.
Now, obviously, I can't make any statements about Warren Hudson's involvement, his guilt or innocence in the circumstances that led to Nolan Wells' death. But I can tell you, some of the things I noticed in this interview were very, very interesting to me as someone who's been a practicing psychotherapist for about 20 years and has worked with thousands of people dealing with grief. The first thing I want to talk to you about is his overall presentation. There is literally no emotion in this interview whatsoever. And he's describing someone as his best friend and like a brother to me. And he passed away under very mysterious, if not suspect circumstances, just 2 weeks prior. His pace and tone with which he's talking never changed throughout the whole interview. I just showed you a small clip, but they never changed throughout the whole interview. Now, listen, when you are describing emotional content, your heart races, your body releases chemicals, like releases hormones, like things like the stress hormone cortisol, for example, and it makes you fidgety, and it makes you move, and it makes your tone change. You don't see any of that with him. Now, some of you guys might be thinking, well, maybe that's just his personality. He'd have to be a Zen Buddhist, especially at the age of 19, to be able to talk about something that is supposed to be so emotional without any level of variance in his body language, in his tone, and in the pace with which he's talking. The other thing that was very telling to me is when the interviewer asked him about the incident on that day, he got very intellectual. Instead of talking about like any of the circumstances that led to Nolan being missing, he starts talking about what it's like living on the Gulf Coast. And there's almost a faint smile beginning to come to his face when he talked about what kids in that area do when they go to one of the islands down in that area. That is very, very unusual because, again, when you asked me about an incident where I lost my best friend, like a brother to me just 2 weeks prior, it should provoke emotion. It should almost be traumatizing, but it wasn't here. He just talked about it as if he's rehearsed it 1,000 times. And then the third thing I want to point out is when he talked about details, about like I was talking to Nolan that day, we had been doing some drinking. Most people express those kinds of things, again, emotionally and with some remorse. For example, we really shouldn't have been drinking. Oh my gosh, I wish I had stopped him from drinking. Something like that would have come out of his mouth. But he's just talking about it like it's just some sort of a story.
And that's exactly what I told you all on yesterday, okay? He was saying it like he was ordering lunch. Like there was no emotion at all, no empathy, no sympathy, no hurt, no pain, nothing. And then the way he was talking about Nolan, it's like he was totally blaming Nolan. Saying my friend, my buddy kept asking him, telling him, Nolan, get on the boat, get on the boat. He'd been drinking a lot. Everybody was. Yeah, that's what he was doing. And how does it make sense that if your friend was drinking to the point of being intoxicated, that you didn't look out for him? Okay, so like I said, this interview just made him look worse, in my opinion.
If the same level of tone, if Nolan and I went and got run to McDonald's and came home. It's just a story. Now, again, I'm not saying that this indicates whether he's guilty or innocent. That's obviously for investigators to decide. But I'm telling you, as a practicing psychotherapist, if I were talking to someone who's just lost somebody 2 weeks prior, I would experience this as incredibly unusual. And I would have some questions clinically about why this person is presenting to me in this way. So what did you notice in this interview? What stood out to you? What are your thoughts? I'd love to hear what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, it was definitely sketchy. Definitely sketchy. Now, here's the thing. I would like to go to, let's go to this next video first. And then I want to go to what I want to see. I haven't listened to it yet, but I would love to know what the amazing Lucas said, because didn't Lucas tell us he wasn't going to cover this story anymore because he was all mad about the parents not telling Nolan, that he needs to be careful around people who don't look like him. I want to hear what he has to say.
Catch this.
Obviously, we were in emergency. The boat, we're trying to save the boat. It's not like we didn't ask Nolan or we just left Nolan. Nolan decided to stay on the island with the girl that he was with. And the girl is a witness to that too.
Yeah. I'm glad.
As a former video journalist, I don't just hear the words, I see the edits. In today's age, every interview is going to be a polished production. And that means you have to look at every single thing with a critical eye. If you watch the whole thing, you're going to see the shift from when he's comfortable talking to when he struggles. You'll see he's very comfortable talking about the island and then going in on protocols for phones and water for 3.5 minutes.
If you drop your phone in salt water, most of the time you're not going to get it back. Yeah. I mean, especially the water's murky right now.
But the moment that he gets the big question from Tatum that relates to Nolan or any pivotal facts to the case, he struggles to retell that moment.
So obviously we were in emergency. The boat, we're trying to save the boat. It's not like we didn't ask Nolan or we just left Nolan.
He starts, then there's a cut, then wraps it up awkwardly and quickly puts it off to the girl who's on the island. I'm not here to convict, but I can question. If you can give a whole TED talk on phone water safety, you can clearly articulate about leaving the island. Did y'all catch this?
Obviously, we were in
Okay, so hella suspicious. All of the moves that he's making are just so suspicious. And that therapist pointed out that, in fact, hold on, somebody said he looks like Freddy Krueger. He does. I was wondering who he looked like, and that's exactly who it is. Freddy Krueger. Okay? Exactly. Okay, now let's go to this video, this next clip with Nancy Grace, where she's talking to the same doctor that was on News Nation. Like up, everyone, please like and share. Let me put an overlay on this because that's on her channel.
The throat. I know we have deep red markings on the occipital bone that's in the back of the thank you. This is directly from the autopsy. We want you to see what the family has seen. Don't you think, Joe Scott Morgan, that the second medical examiner might need the throat to figure out what happened?
Let me tell you where the neck is. Or the organs of the neck, as it's referred to. These neck structures are actually being held by the Mississippi State Medical Examiner's Office. And they don't just arbitrarily hold things like this, Nancy. This is something that would commonly go with the body when the body is released. So I deduce the fact that they have seen something there that they're trying to hold on to from an evidentiary value. Remember, the state still has an ongoing investigation in this case, and they see evidentiary value in this. But the problem is that when you get into these structures in the neck, one of the things you're trying to assess is, was this a drowning? Also, is there any kind of trauma? If people will just put their hands right here in the midline of your neck, you'll feel that kind of cartilaginous body there. That's cartilage, right? That can be fracture. Need I remind you, Epstein, right? So you have to examine this. Also, here's our word, Nancy. They're talking about the hyoid is missing as well. So they don't have that. They've retained
Joe Scott Morgan, because you and I, hyoid, we know what it is because you and I have handled a ton of asphyxiation, ligature, manuals, strangulations, you name it. Hyoid, explain. So delicate.
Yes. Yeah, and it's very, very far up the neck, Nancy. And one of the things that happens is that with the hyoid, it's generally only traumatized as a result of direct pressure that's generally applied by a throttling event or a C-clamp like this, throttling meaning like this, so manual strangulation. And an outlier here is ligature strangulation, but primarily hands-on. So they're looking for little fractures in here all along the way. So that has to be dissected along with these other, there's a couple of other structures that you look at as well.
Where's the throat?
Now I want you all to pay attention. I want you all to pay attention because he seems to think that the reason that they kept the throat is because they want to do further testing on it and see if he was strangled or whatever. At the end of the day, they're not doing that. Okay, they've already told us it was an accident. They've already said that they don't think there was any crime committed. So if they don't think there was any crime committed, they're not doing any of that research. Okay, like I said, they kept the throat just to hamper the other investigation, in my opinion.
We can all agree that it is ironic that the district attorney in Jackson County, Mississippi is asking us not to rush them for answers when we were not rushing them in the first place. And the sheriff came forward and told us that he didn't suspect foul play. Voluntarily, they told us that they believe that this boy drowned. You want us to trust the district attorney's office to have a fair process when Mississippi has historically done the complete opposite when it comes to Black bodies being found. You want us to trust you when one of the boys who was on the boat with Nolan Wells has a mother or stepmother who is a judge. Okay? And that same child decided to get on a podcast and do an interview versus going to speak to the family's attorney. And his mama is a judge. And let's be clear, her being a judge in the same county that the district attorney works in means she knows the district attorney, means she knows the sheriff, the coroner, and everybody else involved. And you think we gonna trust you? Bye. So
Exactly. And that's exactly why there's not going to be any justice. That's exactly why there's not going to be any justice. Sadly, it's going to be just like Emmett Till's case. Okay, that's just what's going to happen. And it's a darn shame. They have done a complete and thorough job of hiding all the evidence, covering their tracks. And I want you all to pay attention to something that I noticed last night when I was listening to my own video again, when I was listening to specifically the part where Tatum was talking to Warren. At one point, did you all notice? I thought it was just a very strange choice of words. To me, it was telling. When speaking to Officer Tatum, this is what Warren said, and I'm quoting him. He said, it was somewhere around the 1 hour and 50-something minute mark. He said, we made sure, that every I was crossed and every T, that every I was dotted and every T was crossed. Okay? That's what he said. We made sure that every I was dotted and every T was crossed. Yeah, that is what they did. That is what they did, in my opinion, to cover up everything that they had done. I just thought that was an interesting choice of words, because you usually talk about stuff like that you usually use that phrase when you're trying to make sure you got everything done correctly and accurately and that you have left nothing to chance. Okay? So that's what it sounds like to me. Now, y'all can say I'm reaching, but that's exactly why I think he said that. Now, of course, he used it in different contexts during to answer a question or to reply to something that Tatum asked him. But I absolutely think that that's exactly what they did in the case of hiding this evidence, making sure the autopsy was done so that they could hamper the other independent autopsy and all of the other actions that they have in fact taken. Okay? Now, with that all being said, Diane said, I disagree, Queen. We're going to ride this murder till the guilty roll off. I hope so. Okay, I hope so, beloved. Trust me, I want justice just as bad as everybody else. I just have questions.
Team is off the charts. Oh my goodness. So when it comes to Nolan Wells, I've already told you guys that I don't care. I haven't really been following the story ever since, the parents came out talking about, oh, we need to have, peace. Okay, please don't cause any harm. We have to have a celebration, for the picking when it comes to the lineage of evil. They look at them first because they know that A, they're low IQ, so they're easy to manipulate, right? In addition to that, they don't have many options because they're low IQ, right? So it makes it easy to throw money at them and to give them their marching orders.
And I can attest to that as a Christian who went to Israel. I spent 2 weeks there with the church, and we had an incredible time. We had only one incident where a small child
That's what makes these Sambo soldiers so lethal, so dangerous. Because who's the person who's trying to defend Nolan Wells? Who's the person that has the same resources, has the same availability, has the same set up the network to do justice on behalf of Nolan Wells? Who is that person? You tell me who. No one. No one. I haven't seen anyone. He's going out to the beach, inviting his, quote, best friend, sitting down with this kid. Well, tell us what happened. I know they're trying to make it racial. What do you think? You think there's any racial component? Yeah, no. I don't know why people are making this racial. Yeah.
we see Benjamin Crump coming to town, made it about race.
Right.
What's your feeling about that? Do you think that any of this has anything to do with race, or because obviously something happened to Nolan. It appears that you guys may not have been involved at all. When I say may not, it's no evidence that you were involved at all. Right. You guys had left.
What?
But do you think that there's a racial component to any of this?
Of course not. I think if Nolan ever felt the most little bit uncomfortable around us, which we never gave him a reason to, but if he did, he wouldn't hang out around us.
In my opinion, if we don't get justice for Nolan Wells, if we come to find out mum's a word, we already know the sheriff is, thumb up his butt, especially Mississippi. We come to find out, no, person drowned. It is what it is,
If you often feel your blood pressure is on the
in the story, I would put the death of this kid, the lack of justice for whatever happened. All right. The fact that we can't come to the truth, forget whether or not he was unalive, forget whether or not he drowned, whatever it is. The fact that we can't come to the truth, I would put that on Brandon Tantrum. That's what I would do. Damn. No one finds it peculiar that his best friend throughout this entire interview doesn't shed a tear, shows no emotion whatsoever. I looked. No emotion. He's talking about it like he's talking about the game or something. Yeah, like it's just a matter of life. Yeah, they didn't have potato chips at the store. That's how he's talking about his kid who allegedly drowned or who he doesn't even know what happened, but he's no longer here. This is his quote unquote best friend. And he's just talking, no emotion, just completely just flaccid.
And people say that you guys just left Nolan behind. I've seen reports of people saying that you just left him. I see reports of people saying that you asked him to get on the boat. You told him to get on the boat. He didn't. What's the truth in that?
Well, Wyatt was having boat issues and the bilge wouldn't pump. So the bilge is basically a pump that releases water from your boat when water comes in. So
now I want you all to pay attention because this is exactly what I pointed out to you all last night. Rather than answering the question, he starts telling him what a bilge pump is. That's not what he asked you, clearly deflecting. Okay, J. Rule says, don't forward what he said. Don't forward what he said is correct. Raise hell. Okay, you're exactly right, beloved. And thank you for that. And thank you for your contribution. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings.
I opened the back hatch and there's water up to the batteries. And that is obviously not good. There's water almost coming over the transom, which is where your motors sit, and which is by the stern, like in the back part of the boat.
What the hell did you just...
We're trying to save the boat.
You notice he said we were trying to save the boat. not Nolan, but the boat. Then there's a cut in the edit. See, he noticed the cut also, because if you all were paying attention, the guy in that in that TikTok video said the same thing, that there was a cut in the edit. And I told you all, I said, notice how that conveniently cut off.
So, obviously, we were in emergency. The boat, we're trying to save the boat. It's not like we didn't ask Nolan or we just left Nolan. Nolan decided to stay on the island with the girl that he was with, and the girl is a witness to that too.
Yeah. I'm glad you cleared that up, because
that doesn't seem a bit odd. That doesn't seem a bit off to you. So I really am at a loss of words, genuinely at a loss of words, because this is what the lineage of evil does. They funnel money to these low IQ blacks who they just manipulate and use to attack who? Black people. You look at his channel. What is it all about? Black people. Black people wrong this. Black people that. Black people black. Think about this. That's why I'm saying, when you speak to someone who's not black, when you speak to a white person or an Asian person who absolutely agrees with you, yeah, I think it's horrible what's going on. Or yeah, I agree when it comes to reparations. Or yeah, I agree when it comes to qualified immunity or police brutality. Or yeah, that is an outlier. That is it's honestly a conundrum, because this is what this country, since its inception, has always pushed forward. Meritorious manumission. They used to reward the slaves for snitching. That's what they did. Now, what are they doing? They're rewarding black people to attack black people. That's what they're doing. They're rewarding black people to try and appease the racist white audience. That's sickening. What's even more sickening is that we have people who are willing to take that check.
I have to absolutely agree. And that's what I told you all about Brandon Tatum. Okay. That's exactly what I told you all about that man. He is absolutely nefarious. Okay. This is what he's willing to do for a check. And no one should be surprised. Now, I find it interesting also that Warren said that the boat was taking in so much water that it reached the motor. Now, would the boat still be functioning? Because it seems like that would cause a host of problems. That's what that seems like. Hold on. And then I'm not understanding why they didn't get a tow if that's the case. Now, I want you all to listen to this, okay? Please pay attention. So I have been doing a little bit of research as we're sitting here listening to this. So let me just tell you all something. Warren is lying. Okay, he has to be lying with what he said about that boat. He said that boat was taking on so much water due to the bilge pump malfunctioning that the water got up to the motor. Didn't he say that? Did he not say that? Let me go back. I don't remember the exact darn timestamp. Hold on. Hold on. Let me go back a little bit more. He said water almost coming over the transit. Is that what he called it? Hold on. I'm looking up something. Okay, so here's what it says. Okay, so hold on. A boat cannot function safely or continue running normally once water reaches the motor and begins submerging key electrical fuel or air intake components. Okay, because this will cause electrical shorts. And that's what I thought, that it would cause a host of problems. Water floods electronic controls units, ignition systems, and alternators, cutting power instantly. Okay, if the water enters the engine's air tank, it enters the cylinders because water cannot be compressed. It instantly bends or breaks internal components like piston rods. Water breaches fuel vents or low-mounted fuel pumps, killing the combustion process. Now, he mentioned the transom. Okay, so the boat could still temporarily function if water covers or comes over the transom, but it indicates, now listen to this, but it indicates a critical stability risk that will rapidly lead to engine failure or sinking if not corrected immediately. Well, hold on here. If this is all true, why did they not get the boat towed? And how were they able to do all that traveling back and forth like I told you all on last night? Are y'all paying attention? Do y'all hear this? Do y'all hear this? Because it sounds like he's lying. Did that boat ever really take on water? Because if it did, how come it was never towed? Okay, how come it was never towed? And they did all of that going back and forth. That's right. Alice said just like a car. Exactly. Trisha said it does the same thing if a car was floated. Yes. Jerome said the boat wasn't flooding from what he said. No. Listen, Jerome, I'm going to go back to it. He didn't say it was completely flooding, but he did say that water was up to the transom, almost up to the motor. Isn't that what he said? Let me go back one more time. Okay, he said almost coming up to the transom. Okay, but he did say water up to the batteries. Hold on, let me look that up. He's lying. He is lying. Do y'all hear me? I just looked it up. Here's what it says. If water, and I typed this in. I said, what if water reached the batteries, but not the transom or the motor? Would the boat still function? Guess what? It says no. If water reaches the batteries, the boat's electrical systems will fail rapidly, and the situation becomes a critical emergency. Okay, what happens to the batteries? Well, listen. Betty Boo says Warren did mention the motor queen. Right. He said it was almost up to the motor. Thank you, beloved. I did hear him. He said it was almost up to the transom coming up to the motor. But he did say water did reach the batteries. So this is what happens if water reaches the batteries. Okay. It says short circuiting. Water connects the positive and negative terminals, causing an immediate short circuit that drains the battery's power. Then there's corrosion. Salt water creates instant aggressive corrosion that destroys wiring connections and battery terminals within minutes. Toxic gas. If submerged in salt water, the chemical reaction generates highly toxic chlorine gas, which can quickly overcome passengers in enclosed places or spaces. Stray currents. Power leaks into the surrounding standing water, which can shock passengers or cause rapid galvanic corrosion to the hull and motor. Wait a minute. Are y'all listening? What if that's what happened to Nolan? What if this is what happened to Nolan, you guys? What if this is what happened to Nolan? Because remember they said his body looked as though it had been burned? What if he got electrocuted from the water getting on the batteries? Let me read that again. They talk about a stray current. They say power leaks into the surrounding standing water, which can shock passengers or cause rapid galvanic corrosion to the hull and motor. I find this all very interesting, honey. I don't know, but at the end of the day, he's sitting there saying if water reaches the batteries, the board will stall immediately. This is what Art says. Okay, so here's the thing. So here's the thing. He's saying that the water got up to the batteries. How the hell was that boat still functioning? How the hell is that boat still functioning? How were they able to keep doing all this maneuvering back and forth? And then they obviously canceled the tow because the tow never showed up. Hold on. You need direct contact to be shocked. Batteries don't do that. Well, that's what I know, but I'm just wondering if it sent an electrical current, the current travels, beloved. That's what I'm talking about. The current can travel. And they even talk about a stray current. That's what I'm talking about. Hold on. Star Child says they wouldn't have kept the throat and lungs. They strangled it. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Thanks for bringing me back to that, beloved. You're absolutely right. Okay, so with that all being said, Global Guidance said Queen got it wrong. I'm just trying to figure it all out. Okay. Now Bronze Flat Power God said their lies are catching up to them. Yeah, absolutely. Because like I said, he has to be lying about the batteries, about the water. He has to be lying about the water reaching the batteries because the boat would have stalled. It wouldn't have been operational. Okay. It would not have been operational. So the question is, why would they be lying about the boat taking on water? Was it because they needed an alibi and they wanted to call, the tow company just to have an alibi or whatever? Is that what it was? Because that's what it sounds like. That's what it absolutely sounds like. Okay, anyway, I'm going to conclude this broadcast. Listen, we have more questions than answer, clearly. Okay, I don't know what happened, but I think it was definitely something nefarious because at the end of the day, these people are getting caught up in their lies. Okay, they're saying things that are not making sense. Keisha says their lies are falling apart. Okay, McMill says it still doesn't explain the back of his head and throat. So you're right, beloved. You're absolutely right. Okay, now with that all being said, I'm gonna have to go with that he's lying. Warren has to be lying about those batteries, about the water reaching the batteries. He cannot be telling the truth. With that all being said, listen, let's go to this story about Diddy, and then I'm out of here. So Diddy got into a fight in jail. Okay, please pay attention. Diddy got into a fight in jail, y'all, in prison. Okay, and they said he held his own. Okay, please make it all make sense. I'm going to share this on the screen because I find this to be absolutely nefarious. Okay. Yeah, Tatum does have kids, Willie. He does. He has a son that is biracial. I saw his son on a picture with him. Okay, now listen. Pay attention to this, you all. So Sean Combs holds his own in prison fight. Don't diss Diddy. TMC, sit down somewhere. Now, this is breaking news. It came out this morning. So Diddy got into a fight with a fellow inmate at his federal lockup in New Jersey. And after all the dust settled, he wound up in solitary confinement. So multiple sources tell us Sean Diddy Combs went toe-to-toe with the other inmate this week inside of FCI Fort Dix in New Jersey. We're told things got heated after the inmate dissed Diddy, who then decided to take matters into his own hands. So Diddy's up in prison acting like he's about that life. Diddy, sit down. Our sources say the two inmates got into a scuffle and started pushing each other and throwing jabs. We're told Diddy held his own during the brawl, which was quickly squashed by prison staff who separated both men. Diddy said he got a rep for his hood, honey. Okay, our sources say Diddy was immediately tossed into the hole at Fort Dix. It's unclear if he's still in solitary as of this morning, but he could be facing more long-term consequences for the alleged fight. So Diddy's currently slated to get out of prison in February of 2028, but that date assumes that he earns credits for good behavior. If prison officials feel he was in the wrong in his cell block showdown, he could be extending his stay in the federal pen. Okay, so they say TMZ contacted FCI Fort Dix, and a rep tells us we are not at liberty to disclose or provide internal information pertaining to an inmate in our custody. Such information would not be available for the public domain. Harvey, you should have known that. Sit down somewhere. I guess he thought he had clout, so he'd be able to find out. Now, the Federal Bureau of Prisons also says it doesn't comment on disciplinary matters or other information regarding individual inmates due to privacy, safety, and security concerns. Okay, we reached out to Diddy's reps, but so far, no word back. Okay, Diddy, please sit down somewhere. Okay, please sit down somewhere. Now, with that all being said, listen, I'm out of here. I hope you all enjoyed the broadcast. I'll be back. Okay, I'll be back later. Mac Mill is a new subscriber who's sent here to give the queen hell. Okay, I can already tell right now, Mac Miller, that you're absolutely nefarious. Or Mac Mill, I called you Mac Miller. Okay, I miss Mac Miller, honestly. But yes, Mac Mill, thank you, beloved, for joining the Queen's channel and becoming a royal. I appreciate you. Shout out to all of my new subscribers. Shout out to the trolls for being haters, because this is why I do what I do. Okay, because haters, y'all gonna learn. Okay, y'all gonna learn. At the end of the day, you don't get to come in here and control narratives. All right. Micah Ayah says, what is my email? It is QueenAhmadiyyahShakur@gmail.com. There it is in the chat. My moderator just dropped it for you, beloved. Okay, so listen, I'm out of here. I love you all to life. I hope you enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. I will see you all right back later on this evening, probably around 4:30 or 5. So until then, each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Until next time, I will talk to you all again soon. Peace.
4th of July. Fireworks in the sky. But the truth's still buried underground. Royal Low. Yeah. They told me, wave the flag while the chains still clank. Told me, praise the names on the blood-soaked banks. Told me, freedom was born in the room full of men who wrote liberty down while they own human skins. So fuck your founding fathers and the myths they made. I don't pledge to the lie, I don't kneel to the page. You can light up the sky, I remember the smoke from the fields, from the ships, from the necks in the rope. You call it independence, I call it selective. You call it patriotic, I call it protective. Of the story so fragile it cracks when questioned. Truth knocks once and they call it aggression. Yeah. Red for the blood they spill, white for the lies they told, blue for the bruises left on the bodies they sold. Don't ask me to celebrate what never included mine. I came with the receipts, I came to redraw the line. Fuck your founding fathers, I don't owe them praise. They built a nation on our backs, then told us smile through the pain. Fuck your founding fathers, let the fireworks cry. This ain't freedom for the people. If the truth still gotta hide, yeah, no justice, no peace, no lie gets crowned. We don't worship old ghosts when the roots scream loud. Fuck your founding fathers. On the 4th of July, I'm lighting up the truth while they light up the sky. They say, look how far we came. I say, look what it cost. Every courthouse got a shadow, every victory got lost. They gave statues to the takers, made heroes out of thieves. Put their faces on the money while the hungry couldn't breathe. Don't lecture me on freedom from a stolen land stage. Don't quote old documents with blood on the page. Don't tell me be grateful for a seat at the table when my people built the room and got treated unstable. You can't find me through the truth. You can dress it in stars, but the anthem still echoes like chains behind bars. I don't hate the people, I hate the disguise. I hate when the guilty get praised as the wise. Red for the blood they spill, white for the lies they told, blue for the bruises left on the bodies they sold. Don't ask me to celebrate what never included mine. I came with the receipts, I came to redraw the line. Fuck your founding fathers, I don't owe them praise. They built a nation on our backs, then told us smile through the pain. Fuck your founding fathers, let the fireworks cry. This ain't freedom for the people. If the truth still gotta hide, no justice, no peace, no lie gets crowned. We don't worship old ghosts when the roots scream loud. Fuck your founding fathers. On the 4th of July, I'm lighting up the truth while they light up the sky. Don't call it hate when the wound speaks back. Don't call it division when our name was fact. Don't call it progress while the system still bites. Don't call it freedom if we still gotta fight. I'm not here for comfort, I'm not here to pretend. I'm here for the children who deserve better than this. Better than myths, better than chains, better than flags used to cover up pain. So this one's for the ancestors who never got rest, for the names never written but who gave us their best, for the mothers who prayed, for the fathers who ran, for the babies born fighting in the stolen man's plan. This is not disrespect, this is correction. This is not rebellion, this is resurrection. You can keep your parade, I keep speaking the truth. I don't need permission to remember my roots. Royal oak in the soil, truth in the flame. If the crown came with